Hey, this is Mary Lou. You're listening to Happy Earth Market Podcast.
Hi. You're listening to Happy Earth Market Podcast. I'm Sam.
I'm Nathan.
I'm JR.
And today we have
I'm Mary Lou.
Miss Mary Lou.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
So you were just talking about how you were on live radio before.
I have been on live radio. Last time I was on live radio was at a Creech Air Force Base for a station out of San Francisco, actually.
Out of San Fran.
Out of San Fran.
What were you doing?
At
In
Creech,
Creech.
yeah.
We were actually out there for an annual peace demonstration.
Mm-hmm.
And we had a number of people from CODEPINK Women for Peace out there for a week, camping out across the highway from Creech, because Creech is the #1 drone Air Force base in the world for drone strikes.
You know,
unfortunately.
I'm so conflicted on that whole issue. Not the droning. I am against droning, don't get me wrong. But I have friends that work there as drone pilots and drone mechanics. So, like, I've been asked numerous times to go out there, but I'm so conflicted on that.
Yeah, it's kind of... We... Rarely, but sometimes we'll actually get the pilots to stop and talk to us.
You, yeah.
Yeah, and it's usually at the end of their shift, and they're usually exhausted, and they're going home to their families, and they're having to switch gears. And so every now and then they'll stop, and they'll let us give them some love and a little peace.
Give them a hug.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a little known fact is that drone pilots have the highest rate of PTSD of any.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're basically watching or killing people all day long.
Right.
And then they go home to mom. Yeah,
And
go home to their
watch
family. Like, yeah, it's just a different...
Watch TV with their family.
Different mental... I don't know how to put it.
Yeah, it's different demon.
Yeah, that's a crazy one, right? Like, yeah, I can't imagine.
There's a couple good documentaries out there about drone pilots. There's one that was actually made based on a pilot at Creech who left the Air Force and went to Europe for a while and kind of went underground for a while and then told his story.
Yeah.
And then he told his story, and they made it into a documentary, and it's called Drone. And it's excellent. He's based out of Montana now. And I actually became friends with him. He's a great guy. He's a great young guy. And he has severe PTSD. And he has a estranged wife and son in Europe. And the life fell apart in many ways when he made the decision to tell a story.
Yeah.
Oh. Yeah.
See, that's another tough decision. Like, I don't know.
Because truth is painful. It's painful. Right?
Truth is painful, but you know what? His pain was worse being on the inside, and he was a pilot. And he was churning inside. He was churning inside.
Coping
and
with
his bosses finally saw it. And actually, his boss finally stopped him one evening because he saw him breaking down in front of the screen.
No.
So his boss was a bigger help than I think he realized he was.
Right.
Yep.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So.
At least somebody recognized his pain.
Right?
Yeah. A lot of people, when they're hurting inside, it's just...
Yeah, they just...
goes unnoticed.
You know, but the thing is, a lot of these guys and women, and I mean, I know this from a few pretty heavy years of doing peace activism. A lot of these guys and women, no surprise, they don't get the help they need once they're out. You know, and there's a denial. There's a denial about PTSD, and there's a denial in the country that the drone strikes even exist, and they kill innocent civilians and go on and on and on. And so they live with that pain, and they go back to their wives and their families, and they can't live.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be normal.
Yeah, I
right. It's supposed to be like, you're out now, just go live your life.
Right.
Well, it is normal in the military. You know, they're the I call it brainwashing, which...
No, it is. Go ahead.
That's what it is. And, you know, they're just trained and taught to separate.
Yeah, to compartmentalize.
Separate.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
But then when you get out and you're just here and you're supposed to be normal and you've been like that in a war zone or at a war zone every day, there's a different level. And then when you go to the VA and you're like, hey, I need help because I'm going to kill somebody on the highway, and they say, cool, here's all these pills. And the next thing you know, you're just an addicted zombie.
Exactly.
So they're really not helping. There's no... When I went to the VA, they said, without even any checking me, they said, hey, we're going to give you all these pills and then come back in a month after they're working, like antidepressants, and then we'll know your level. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Isn't me the level, and then we'll figure it out? They're like, no, we need you to be on this. like
we know where to start.
So we know where to start.
Because pharma is part of the war machine.
Yeah, I know it,
Yeah,
and I didn't know it back then,
Absolutely
but
is.
they're the biggest part. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
there's
So
no
they
doubt.
just add another whole layer. So if you finally get to the point that you're able to see, right, and what you really need to do to start healing, then you've got another whole layer of addiction that you've got to get rid of before you can get to the core of the PTSD, which is
Right.
the horror,
Yeah.
right, and the terror, right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep. If anybody who can watch Drone, the documentary, should watch it, especially people who live in Vegas, because it's in our back door.
Yeah, it's right here.
And he really went through a time, and he's still going through a time. Every now and then I talk to him and text him, and it doesn't go away. To your point, the pain doesn't go away. Like, you have to literally be willing to work on it, right? And that's painful.
Yeah, no,
that's painful.
You got the pushing through. It's the painful part, right? You know what I mean? And then the learning to cope is cool, but you got to go through some shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? And get sick to your stomach and really decide to do the work to try to get well. And it is what it is. Well, maybe not well, just at a level. I don't know what well means, so I don't like.
Well, cleansed. I think a little bit of it's cleansed. I think when you're in that situation, when you're in a war situation, you're taken out of your humanness, right? I mean, I don't believe we're programmed to hurt.
No.
We're not programmed to hurt
Absolutely
each
not.
other.
No.
We're
That's a
programmed to love. So so you go into the military and you're taught to fight, and you're taught to hate, and you're taught to be violent, right? And all of a sudden that's programmed in your being, and then you leave.
And for a young man like me, like, all that was fun. Like,
Testosterone.
The testosterone,
the
adrenaline.
adrenaline.
All the adrenaline, all that stuff was fun for me. Don't get people wrong. Like, there is a level to where I personally miss the adrenaline rush of being on convoys and shit happening like that. There's nothing that can compare to an 18-month adrenaline rush. There's nothing out here in Las Vegas that's going to compare to that excitement ever. And so it's an addictive excitement, and you get home and it's gone, and so that's why people want to go right back. That's one of the reasons, because plus you have carte blanche, do whatever you want. You don't stop it. You just do what you want.
That's a vivid truth.
Yeah.
Vivid truth you just told.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a vivid truth.
It's the Wild West over there, and you get to do whatever the hell you want, and you're not accountable for anything except for to your hires, and it's fun. It's a lot of fun. You can't lie. People can't lie about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They can say the horrors and all that stuff they want, but the fact is that like I said, you're never going to find an 18-month long adrenaline rush in Las Vegas.
Right.
Well, that's the whole boys with toys, and sometimes girls with toys, like big guns, big trucks, big planes, all that kind of stuff. Stuff that we brought our children up believing was okay for them to play with. I mean, not in infinite lifetimes would I ever bring my children up to do anything and play with anything that portrayed violence.
Yeah, and I didn't know.
Zero.
That's not a thought process we had back then, but now I definitely wouldn't. You know what I mean? I would buy him, and we did a lot, but creative things, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not things that, and boys are going to naturally play with sticks as guns and stuff like that. That's a natural thing that boys do just because they see TV or something. I don't know, but violent toys, I don't know if I would have bought that for our son. Would you have, Sam?
No.
No?
we were really different people then, though,
Yeah, that's true.
It's funny when you become wiser to things, how your whole everything changes.
All of us.
All
of us.
Cool.
Or, even just deciding to look at things in a different perspective change everything.
Well, and so I'm happy we're talking tonight, because one of the things that really changed my perspective was being in a war zone and doing peace work.
Yeah, that's good. So what got you over there? What?
So I was doing some peace work here in town with a local peace organization, Nevada Desert Experience, actually, and they do a lot of interfaith resistance to nuclear weapons and wars.
Okay.
And so that's why we spend time out at Creech Air Force Base and out at Mercury. And I was invited to go on this peace delegation with this organization called Voices for Creative Nonviolence.
Okay.
And they've been around since the beginning of the Iraq War.
Okay.
And Kathy Kelly is an amazing, beautiful angel woman who runs the organization. And she's been taking delegations to Iraq, Colombia, and we were the second one to Afghanistan.
Wow.
So we were offered the opportunity to go, and I couldn't not go.
Yeah, it was a calling at that point.
It was a calling.
Yeah.
It was totally a calling.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it was, when I think back, it was so, even the prep was intense.
Yeah. Oh,
The
yeah.
prep-
Yeah, talk
The
about
prep
it.
was
Sounds scary. It sounds scary.
Yeah, talk about it. Well, I mean, the preparation basically was, I mean, we had some pretty serious paperwork that we had to agree to sign off on.
Well, you're not just going on vacation. What year was this?
No, 2011.
2011. So you're not just going on vacation to Afghanistan from America at the time. Yeah.
No. Yeah, no. It was no vacation. I mean, they asked us to sign off on paperwork that said if we found ourselves in a situation where we were at gunpoint or we were taken hostage.
Yeah, just making a lot of noise. Sorry, go ahead.
Where we were at gunpoint or taken, sorry about that,
It's cool.
or taken hostage, that we would agree not to call in the U.S. military to help us.
What?
Oh, wow.
Well, and this isn't a secret, but but the reason behind that is because the U.S. military is behind stopping NGOs and peace organizations doing their work abroad in war-torn areas. Because the reason we went over there was to work with non-government organizations and to work with Emergency Hospital, which is a worldwide international organization that helps all people in war areas, regardless of which side you're on.
Yeah.
So we weren't really liked over there because...
On both sides, or...?
Well, you know... That's a really long discussion. Like in Afghanistan, I mean, the Americans aren't liked at all.
Well, how could they be?
I mean, yeah, right. Because we're perpetuating the war, right? I mean, we're like into our 16th year.
I always equate it when people get mad about that. Like, well, would you like it if any country came over here and just invaded and set up shop? No, you wouldn't.
Right.
You would be on, like me, I would be on you would call me a terrorist then. Let's say China, I would be a terrorist against China. Yeah, right. Wouldn't you be? I mean, you would fight for your homeland.
Of course.
You know, so to me, it's no different, you know. So.
Yeah, I mean, it was the prep in and of itself was pretty interesting. I mean, for women going over there, so, you know, we had certain dress we had to wear, right? So we had to be covered. We didn't have to be, but they highly recommended that we did. So we had to cover everything below our clavicle. Our wrists had to be covered. Our ankles had to be covered. We had to wear, you know, headwear. And I was a pretty radical anarchist type of peace activist back there 4 or 5 years ago. So there was a part of me, and I smoked cigarettes, right? So, I mean, there's a part of me that was like, yeah, I'm not doing this. You know, this is not my religion. The earth is my religion. People are my religion. And am I doing it? And, you know, and Kathy basically said, you can't come if you're not going to do it.
Wow.
You know? She said, because we like to stay on the QT while we're over there.
Right.
And so, you know, drawing attention to ourselves in any way is not a good thing. So we had to sign off on some paperwork. We had to do that. You know, the visa process. So
I've never gone through it. Yes, I know.
Well, but going to Afghanistan, going to an area where there's active war happening, I mean, you've really got to, you've really got to convince the authorities why you're going over there if you're not a contractor.
Yeah. Or a journalist or something, right?
Right. So we had to say we were going over there on business with this organization, and the organization has to be checked out. So it was like a 3-month process to hopefully get the visa. And we didn't get our visas till a week before we flew. We had to get it, so.
So you got tickets? You guys are ready to go?
Oh, yeah, we had
just fingers crossed?
Yeah. And I mean, we flew around the globe, you know, Greenland and back down to get into Kabul, right? And so it was a big challenge.
What was the route you guys took to Afghanistan? Like, do you remember?
We flew Vegas to London.
Okay.
London to Bahrain, which was not a good place to land. Bahrain to Dubai. So it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, Dubai's nice.
And Dubai to Kabul. Yeah, we had like a 13-hour layover in Dubai, and then we dumped into Kabul.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dubai. How big was it then?
Dubai?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was huge now. Yeah, it was huge.
I mean, flying over that oasis and that man-made oasis in the desert.
Yeah.
What a trip that was.
Yeah, I've never been there. I heard it's crazy.
Aerial view of it was
aerial view of the islands on water in the middle of the desert with dripping money, just dripping.
You can see the money.
Yeah, you can see the money. And the airport was massive, just massive airport. And there were beds everywhere in the airport.
Oh,
so
really?
There's just like roll away, lay down beds. Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I need those here.
Right.
Sometimes I get stuck in the airport here.
Yeah.
You want to lay down? Yes.
Yes.
Want to lay down?
Yeah, and they laid all the way back.
Oh, nice.
They laid all the way back so you could just like snooze. I mean, some people actually got a day-long visa so they could go out and check out Dubai, but we decided not to do that. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
We were just hung in the airport, but yeah, it was a process. And then we got, so there was 26 of us on this delegation, and we all flew separately, but we all pretty much landed in Kabul together, you know. And so that's when reality hit.
Why did you have to fly separately?
Because we were flying from all over the country.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there
I
was
guess we can
only
all
two of
just
us.
take the same flight.
No, there was only two of us from.
From Vegas. That's
There
what I
was
was
a-
picturing too. Yeah.
Why
I'm
were
just
two
okay.
on the same
Why would
plane?
he just, I don't know.
No, because we had people
Buddy
from all over the
system, I don't
country.
know.
But we all landed there the same day and pretty close to each other actually. But you know, when we got off the plane, I mean, we had to disembark on the runway, and you know, there was American, there was Italian, there was German, there was Afghani, there was you know, Royal Army troops
Yeah.
Huh.
surrounding us with live ammo.
Yeah, it's the airport.
Yeah, it's the airport in Kabul.
It's the
you know.
airport.
So then we had to go through customs, right? And so I was divorced, and I kept my married name, so that was a hassle.
Uh-oh.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was a hassle, and they wanted to give me lots of grief, you know, because of that. And then I kind of look Saudi, and I kind of look Iranian, and I
Oh,
kind of
yes,
looked
they-
Afghani, and so it was just that was an experience.
They're
So-
just confused.
yeah, and you know because. So I mean, I was basically detained for a couple hours where they tried to figure out what to do with my paperwork.
Wow.
And I think only because I had the right frame of mind and I was strong
Mhm.
and I knew we were there for a purpose. I think that's the only reason we got out of there when we
But
did.
I mean, you're there. You just gotta.
Yeah, yeah,
deal
but it
with it.
wasn't pleasant. I mean,
Just gotta get out of the airport.
yeah, none of it. Yeah, I know. So we got
Right.
out of the airport on the other side.
Crazy.
We finally got out of the airport and we were, you know, I mean, but for a civilian
Mm.
who had never been in the service, it was all monumentally.
Culture shock.
Culture shock. Well,
Mm.
yeah. And we were escorted to taxis, you know. And again, I've never been in the military, you know. But we were escorted to taxis by a barrage of military folks,
Yeah.
you know. And then we got in the taxis, and then the fun began because they drive about 90 miles an hour, you know.
Yeah, love it.
That's pretty wild. But you know,
So you guys had a? Did you guys have a? You guys had an armed escort to your hotel, or how did that work?
we they had it all planned out.
Okay.
And there was a lot that we couldn't really talk about, but the NGOs knew we were coming, so they worked with some of the Afghan government to protect us because, I mean, it was live war happening like a couple days before we got there. The major grocery store in downtown Kabul was shot up and 5 or 6 people were killed and many people were injured. And so
Wow.
this was happening, you know, close down the street,
Yeah.
around the corner from where we were going. So yeah, we did. We had,
Were you scared at all? Was there ever moments where you were just
you know what? We hit our hotel. We got to our hotel and we got out of the hotel the first day, or got out of the cab the first day. And across the street was a closed down hospital that had been bombed. And it was closed, obviously. And we got to the hotel and it was open air. So you didn't walk in the door and the doors closed.
Yeah.
There was no door to close.
Oh.
Oh, okay, that's
So it's
weird.
just hollow.
So we walked up 3 flights of stairs with our stuff. I'll never forget this. And there was a public bathroom, and it was kind of like being in China. There was a hole, you know, in the floor.
You have to squat.
I mean, this is third world, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So we had to squat. So I was like, well, I'm not going to go yet. I don't need to do that. But we got into our room. And we closed the door. And I opened the curtains, and I looked down 3 flights, and there were men with guns walking back and forth in the streets. You know, there were men pushing carts with donkeys and children, and you didn't really see any women. And that's when it hit me, and I just instantly, you know, started crying. So
Right.
I started crying, and my partner and I embraced each other, and he started crying, and it was, yeah, it was a
That
moment.
sounds very. I can't imagine what that must have felt like. I mean, I can feel you, but I can't.
Yeah, I haven't talked about this in a long time.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
what a strange vision that must have been to just not
It
see
was.
women.
And off in the distance was a mosque, and not soon after that prayer, you know,
Yeah, the
prayer
call to
came up.
prayer came.
The call to prayer came, so it became
Which
very...
when I was over there, I loved the call to prayer.
Oh, I did
thought-
too.
I thought it was
It
beautiful.
was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. It was beautiful. But it all, you know, it just all became very real. And we were with people, we were with a few people who had done quite a few peace delegations to Iraq, right?
Okay.
And a couple who continued to do delegations to Colombia. And, you know, drug war zone in Colombia. So
It's bad.
way bad. So these guys, they were guys. These 2 guys, they were like mega high energy, and they had this vibe of always being worried and being on top of it. So me,
So they're always vigilant. They're ready for
right,
anything all the time.
right. And me, I mean, that's not how I vibe. So
Yeah.
I was like
You're-
instantly. It's like, oh, I think I have to be like this. So it took me, a day or two to actually calm down. But when I did calm down, it was like so totally purposeful.
Cool.
It was absolutely beautiful. We were supposed to be there. It was a blessing. It was a blessing.
So you said your peace delegation. What was your work? What exactly were you doing?
Kathy, she takes these delegations to various places in the world where there's either war happening, or where there's hunger, or where there's starvation, or where the drug cartel is going on, anything that requires help for civilians. So our role was to go over there and meet with a group called the Afghan Youth Peace Volunteers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So they were a group of young men and a few women, because women don't get to do very much over there, which we could talk about later. But a group of young men where every young man had lost either one or both parents.
Oh, wow.
And this amazing angel, his name is Hakim, this amazing angel from Singapore, who was a doctor in Singapore, who took a trip to Afghanistan and basically never returned. And he ended up working in the streets with some of these young men. And he formed this Afghan peace volunteer movement. And they got connected to Voices for Creative Nonviolence here in the States. And they formed a bond. And so Kathy began sending delegations over there to work with the APV, which in turn, we helped the APV, that's their name, begin working with NGOs over there to help the tens of thousands of displaced families and children all over the city and all over the country.
So you help them with what, like
shelter,
food, hospital?
We did a schooling.
Okay.
So we helped people in schools. We helped some of the educational movement that was somewhat tied into the government, that was very progressive, that wanted to, get children back in schools after they were victims of bombings. We helped with emergency hospital, which, basically there's a wealthy Italian gentleman who started these emergency hospitals and builds them all over the world. So anywhere there's a need, I'm sure there's a couple in Syria. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
So that's just what he does with his money.
That's what he does with his money.
What a great
and
guy.
he hires nurses and doctors that take next to nothing. They basically just take housing and a little bit of remuneration just to eat.
Just to eat.
Yeah. Just to eat, and he builds them as compounds.
There is rich people that are good.
Yeah.
Oh, there's rich
tons.
people.
Yeah. We just never hear about them.
Yeah. And we worked with some scholars over there and some academia people, and we spent a couple days. This is one of the most moving things. We spent a couple days in refugee camps.
But that was fun.
And you guys just stayed in the Kabul area, or did you go out to the provinces?
Well, you know what? We stayed in this hotel for about 5 days, and there was 23 or 26 of us, and we walked the streets pretty freely.
Okay.
And we were told that wasn't a good idea.
Did you feel like it wasn't a good idea though? Because my experience, sorry not to interrupt, but my experience with the limited amount of Middle Eastern people that I dealt with, they were super friendly, and I don't know how they are with women, I'm sorry, and also very welcoming.
Yeah. You know what? The civilians were beautiful.
Yeah.
It wasn't the civilians.
Yeah.
It was the military. Okay. It was all the men and guns, and it was all it was the presence. It was the presence and the man-made fear that
That something can happen at any second.
Yeah, I mean, right. That something could happen at any second. It was it was the sadness, it was the sadness of the poverty. Third world, I mean, open sewers everywhere. Everywhere in the streets. So you're walking down a sidewalk, and lots of open air markets, right? And of course they loved our money, right? Because
totally.
they needed our money.
Absolutely.
I mean, no, they needed our money,
Yeah.
But I mean, there'd be open sewage in front of you, and there'd be chicken hanging down off a string to buy,
Yeah.
and fresh cucumbers on a stick and all this stuff, and rabbit, amazing rabbits. Funny I'm saying rabbit because I love bunnies. I wouldn't eat rabbit anymore.
I love bunnies.
I love bunnies,
but they were delicious in Afghanistan.
Yeah, they were pretty damn.
Superb Afghan bunny.
but back to what you were asking about, did we feel safe? I mean, we I can't speak for anybody else. I felt totally safe, but we were totally watched.
Yeah, absolutely you were. I can't see why you wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for that reason I didn't feel safe. So we stayed in the first place 5 days, and then we came home one day from the hospital, and they said, pack your bags up, we got to go, right?
Oh.
And the two guys who spend time in Colombia, They were like, we need to leave and we need to leave now. And then there were a couple of us that were saying, well, you need to explain why to us because we're comfortable here and we like the area we're in and we've made some friends with some business owners and it's close to the hospital and it's close to the refugee camp and tell us what you're talking about. And they said, you need to trust us. We've been through this before. Okay, we need to trust you. So that ensued like a 2-hour, pretty heavy-duty conversation in the hotel. And it finally came down to the guys that owned the hotel didn't want us there.
Oh, wow.
So then I had some fear because it was like, why don't they want us here?
Right.
And what they said was, now that you know why, we're going to pack our bags up and we're going to leave. And we're like, okay. So that was a little freaky.
Yeah. Maybe he was getting threatened.
Yeah, I don't know.
Or something.
So
Yeah.
we had a couple.
How big was this hotel?
It was like 4 stories.
Oh, okay.
It was open air. It was interesting.
Ah.
I mean, the hospital across the street had been bombed. It was in the city.
Jesus.
There was, I can remember a lot of Italian military. I don't know why. There was a lot of British military. Of course, there was American.
Out of all things to bomb a freaking hospital.
A hospital.
Right?
Well, that's, one of their best targets.
Yeah, exactly.
For their sake.
Yeah. So,
Yuck.
So we moved. We had 2 vans waiting for us because we had some non-government organizations that worked with Voices for Creative Nonviolence that were very close to us. And I'm probably talking about some stuff I shouldn't be talking about now that I think about it.
The 4 people are going to listen to us, you're okay.
No, but it's done.
We can always take anything.
No, it's done. But we had these vans waiting for us. Excuse me, and they ended up taking us to this, which because you've been overseas. It was another compound with like 12-foot high doors, and it looked pretty beautiful on the outside, right?
Until the doors open.
No.
Well,
So-
probably an old palace or something.
Yeah. So listen. So there were armed guards in front of the doors, right? So we were getting used to all the guns, and we hopped out of the van, and they had to take all our credentials, right? And we opened the doors, and there's this beautiful garden.
Oh.
And there's this beautiful building. Well, it ended up being a place where military contractors stayed.
Oh, okay.
So we walked in, and we got this great room. So we were on the 3rd floor of this open-air hotel that was not nice, with holes in the floor,
Oh, wow.
And so we walked in, and we got this really quite beautiful room.
American
and
porcelain toilet.
had Wi-Fi. In 2011.
Yeah.
I mean, getting Wi-Fi over there, we'd have to go to internet cafes, and it took hours.
And spotty at best, yeah.
So I was like selfishly happy. Most of the delegation.
You had every right to be happy.
Well, no, but most of the I don't know about that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about that.
No, I'm saying that maybe not every
Right.
but that's the natural reaction.
Yeah.
Right, it was.
Comfort.
Yeah,
Comfort.
as human beings who live in such opulence and comfort
Absolutely.
and blessings in America, right.
America's
right.
utopia, man. I don't care what anybody says.
So then we had to go through a couple of hours of deciding whether we were going to stay there or not. And I remember telling my partner, I'm not leaving.
Yeah.
We can do our good work.
Yeah.
We can do our good work and still sleep at night. I'm not going back there.
Yeah,
So,
it makes sense.
So that was
And there you felt safe.
With all the contractors
very
around.
safe.
Yeah.
Very safe. And we had coffee in the morning. I mean, it sounds kind of funny, but
I know the exact feeling. I went from living in a tent on a cot to with using porta potties everywhere, and then the last piece of my deployment, I lived with porcelain toilets, and thank you God, it was
Baller.
so nice.
Right.
I mean, it was nice. I didn't have to live in a
Like
tent.
I can sit when I poop.
Yeah,
right.
You
I
haven't.
feel comfortable sitting there. You're not going to fall in.
Or fall over.
You
I don't
haven't-
have to hold on. I don't have to hold on to anything.
You haven't lived until you've shit in a military toilet in 150 degrees with full
Right.
gear on.
Yeah.
that
Oh my goodness.
Sounds terrible.
All of that was, so ridiculously humbling, though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it makes you
Yeah.
appreciate everything back
I
home
just-
too, right?
I know what you mean by driving through and just the sheer shock of that you're there, because I remember driving through on the first convoy and just everything that you saw in pictures that you thought maybe was exaggerated or maybe it was all real, and it was all there, and houses that are falling over, and there's kids running around with no shoes, and that
Right.
all they want is for you to throw some candy off, and it's just the poverty is on a different level over there than you'll ever see here.
Well, I mean, we were, keeping in mind we were peace activists, so that meant we spent every day researching what was going on with the war machine,
Sure.
Yeah.
right? And being in opposition to it.
So was all this documented, and you guys put something together, or are you just there to do the work in your home?
Well, we all documented on our own when we were there.
Yeah.
And when we came back for the first year and a half, I mean, we did talks all over the country.
Oh, that's great.
And we did workshops and radio spots.
Cool. That is
just bringing the story
TV,
back.
Just bringing the story back.
Yeah,
and,
that's great.
I mean, there were so many angles to talk about. There was the poverty angle. There was the
the women angle.
Right.
That's a
there was
big
the
one.
women angle. There was the mortality rate. There was the refugees.
Sure, there was a drone part too.
Yeah, we did so much drone
so many
activism.
different things. I can't imagine how much is tied to
I mean,
that.
targeted drones. There was civilian death rate. The civilian death rate. And I actually took the opportunity when we were talking about doing this blog to do a little more research on what's happening over there now, because even though I keep in touch with them occasionally with our friends over there, because they do monthly blogs themselves, and I was going to give you the information at the end of our blog here, but to look at the numbers now compared to what was happening then, the big push then back in 2011 was to do everything we could during the first Obama administration to pull everybody out of there.
Yeah.
So now at the beginning of 2018, we're going to have a whopping 16,000 plus troops over there again.
Wow.
So there's this perpetuation.
So are we on the
war.
Do you feel like we're on the you broke it, you bought it system, or should we just pull out? Let's go. We fucked it all up just like Russia did. Let's go. Let's go home. Leave all the damage we did. What's the fix?
Well, you asked how I feel. So how I feel is the war makes money. So I feel is that we continue to perpetuate war. How I feel is the war perpetuates human genocide. So I have so many feelings about this. When I was kind of reading up on stats the past couple days, my heart was aching because, unless there's people like us, the four of us sitting across the table, and all the people who went on the delegations, this isn't going to stop. So Afghanistan is the #1 producer of opium in the world.
Yes.
So guess what? The Taliban supports the production and the agriculture, and so does the Afghani government. And so the U.S. backs the Afghani government.
Sure.
All right. So guess what? War makes money, drugs make money, pharma makes money, everything that makes money, So how do I feel?
Yeah.
I feel like I can't breathe all over again, because when I was over there, I couldn't breathe. Because anybody who has a heart and goes into a war-torn situation, not as someone in the military who has a job you have to do, but as somebody who wants to go over there and talk to the people and sit with the people, and see what you can do for the people. I feel like I want to get up on a plane and go back over there tomorrow. Yeah. That's how I feel.
And that's just
sorry to be a downer.
No, it's
that's how you feel.
Yeah.
It's a reality across the globe, though. Unfortunately, it's not just Afghanistan. It's everywhere. It's scattered everywhere. Suffering, and violence, and it's just like this big, monstrous, ugly thing that exists in our planet. And it has to, because it's the yang to the yin, and it sucks. And I don't know what the other darkness could exist other than war, but whatever it is.
Well, and so those of us who do peace work and even healing work, which is peace work, right? And vice versa. I mean, we would like to believe that, there's those of us who have been placed on this planet to definitely be the yang and not the yin.
Yeah.
And so, even by us sitting here.
I think we can flip, though.
Yeah.
I think you're wrong. I
What do you
used to
mean?
be a yang. I'm a yin yang.
Well,
no, seriously.
Well, yeah, me too. Yeah,
I mean, we can we can be taught to be dark and then unteach ourselves to no longer be dark.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
I'm not defining the yin versus, being the light and the yang versus the dark, if that's what we're talking about. No, I'm just saying either or. I mean, but I think that there's
no way to be in between, or
no. I believe all of us have light and dark.
Absolutely.
Completely believe all of us have light and dark. But I also believe that there's those of us, like the two of you, the three of you, and myself, and a lot of our friends, who have been brought to this planet
to shine the light.
To be the light.
Yeah.
And when we were over there, I mean, those people were so grateful and so gracious, even though they had nothing, for people of light and people of purpose to come over and visit with them and listen to their stories, listen to the children and listen to the teachers and listen to the mothers in refugee camps, right? I mean, there were people, and there still are, there are people displaced because of the war over there that had jobs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they have homes, they have businesses,
and farms,
and they have
and
children, and they have farms, and they have land, and everything's blown up. And guess what? You know where they ended up in Kabul? In the middle of Kabul, there's at least one, I think there's three, refugee camps that were ex-army barracks. So imagine, if you will, they're big concrete structures with holes for doors. Again, that whole thing. And you walk in there, and they're concrete walls, and they're cold, and there's no water, and there's holes for toilets, and they use that same hole for their cooking, and this is no exaggeration. And we spent 2 days at a refugee camp, and I thought I wasn't going to go back. And I had no idea then what an empath I was. But as I talk about it, it all comes back. I mean, mothers with children, mothers with 8 and 9 children, feeding their families, in these refugee camps. And there's like refugee camp managers, right? And those managers are the ones that do the work between the Afghani government and the families to help get them the equivalent of Medicaid and Medicare and all this kind of thing. Wild.
So,
wild.
Can we go back to the cooking in the toilet thing real quick? Did I hear you right? I'm still
no,
trying to. Did you say that?
So,
please explain better.
I did. So this is the truth. There is a family living in a cubicle. It's not a cubicle, but in a space in this refugee camp that had a makeshift kitchen. And in the kitchen was a hole. And in that hole, that was the only place there was any resemblance of to flush any kind of anything.
It was
liquid.
Like there was a pipe or something away.
There was a way.
Yeah.
Right? So the kids used that to pee. They used it for everything possible. They used it for their water, for cooking. So there was also water coming out of it, right? So there was a little bit of sewage there. So there was a little bit of water flow there. This is no exaggeration. And I sat with those women, and you know what? I'll share with you guys some of the photos because I took photos of it. And, mothers crying, mothers crying. And here we are knowing, that our country, that we're so blessed to be in, that we can work here and make money and sleep under a roof, knowing that our country is the one that was perpetuating that. I mean, the feelings, the emotions went from grief and sadness and such crazy purpose to help these people to incredible anger, incredible anger.
I can imagine.
So can I go back for a second to the comment about the yin and yang? I don't believe that every breathing sacred being has to have a lot of the darkness in them. I don't believe that. I believe this has been programmed over the centuries. And I believe at the beginning of time when, humans were living in caves, you know what? They woke up, they looked for food all day. They came back, they prepared the food, they foraged, they loved each other.
Yeah.
They went to sleep. They built a fire to stay warm. They got up and they did it again. Okay? So I don't believe that since the beginning of time there's been this drastic yin and yang, although, I believe a lot in the Tao and Taoism and read a lot about Tao, so I can see how it happens, but this is man-made. This is man-made stuff, you guys. This is man-made.
Interesting.
Greedy man-made.
That's the word. That's the word. Greedy. That's my problem. Like, if this is war to stop an invading army, or if this was war to actually fight for freedom, if this was war for actual resources that we needed because we were starving, like if it was war for something other than just
money,
poppy money and oil money, like once you come to that realization, it's hard to be like, man, really? That sucks so bad.
Well, once you come to that realization, it's really easy to understand that your money is what's actually paying for it.
Yep.
So
right.
It's easier just not to consume. Grow your own, make your own, do your own.
Yeah, exactly what you do.
Or know people that do all that,
Exactly.
so that way you can,
But why would anybody want to stop the war machine? Because the war machine makes so much money. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
no,
even,
it is our economy.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's absolutely our economy. And,
Yep.
and I was reading some stuff yesterday, like over 18,000 troops are going to be in Afghanistan next year. And this is the longest war. This is the longest war in our history, right?
It absolutely
And we're
is.
dropping more bombs now than ever. And I was reading yesterday on Democracy Now! That now we've got F-35s and F-22s. I never even heard of F-22s, which doesn't mean anything.
No, yeah.
It doesn't mean anything. But now we've got these new bombers that are quicker, faster, smarter,
Yeah.
and the drone strikes increase, and they're increasing from our own backyards. And so why are we doing that? Because you know what? When we were over there, a lot of the civilians didn't want us to be there. A lot of the civilians really, really liked the Taliban.
Yeah.
Economy was better. Okay, this was the reality. Economy was better. Schools were better. Their prosperity came easier, right? So I mean, the Afghanis are well aware of what the war machine does.
Well, they've been in it for a while. Like Russia was there before us.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
they've been in it for a minute,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even before that. And the thing about Afghanistan,
Yeah.
what's funny, but anybody going, one thing, known fact about Afghanistan, it's never been conquered.
No,
Nope. There's
No.
never been an occupying force that was able to sustain an occupying
no.
force in Afghanistan, and mainly
Interesting.
because it's built up of so many different tribal entities that you would have to spend a millennium to understand how they interact together, because it's just how
Right.
they interact together,
Right.
and it's this unspoken rules that they just have.
Right.
So you'd have to stay there a long time. So if you get a commander that goes there for a year, right? So he's in first month he's there, he's setting up, getting briefed and all that stuff. And then the last 2 months he's there, he's getting out of there. You know what I'm saying? So you're trying to take 10, 15,000 years plus history of this tribal history and the way they've interacted together and shove it into 8 months so that these guys can interact.
Never happens.
Never, ever. So then what they end up doing, especially in the outer provinces, not necessarily in the bigger cities, is just using those commanders who are trying to make peace for what they need. Oh, cool, you can bring me water, bitch, and bring it to me. But they're still, they're still got their boys back. They're from that area. It's just, you know what I mean? They're going to use you for what they can use you for, and that's it.
You know what? We heard a lot of that over there, and it's true, right? It's true, and the corruption comes with that.
Yeah.
The corruption comes with it. But we also heard it to the extent, we heard it to the extent because we were staying with contractors,
Yeah.
right? We heard it to the, basically them saying, we got to be over here to stop the corruption. Well, no, that's not true. No, we don't need to be over there. We don't
Period.
need to be over there.
Yeah.
No,
So yes,
the word
there's
need
many
needs to be-
provinces
we
that are,
want to be over there.
yeah, there's many provinces that are now fighting against each other. I mean, there's so much war going on, and there's so much impoverishment, and there's so much decay, and there's so much violence everywhere that it's when we were over there. I mean, it got to the point where people didn't know who people really were, and nobody trusted anybody.
Right.
And that's the main reason we
That's
should
so
have had a
sad.
lot of fear,
Yeah.
is because nobody trusted us, which is why we had to keep moving, because nobody trusted us. And
Yeah.
a dear, dear, dear friend of ours who we worked with over there, who was a farmer and a scholar and a writer, he was killed last year. He was killed last year. Yeah, maybe not even a year ago, maybe a little less than a year ago. And the educational community, I mean, they were really hesitant to spend any time with us, and we wanted to learn from the educational community what they were doing for the people, in light of the fact that every other day there's a bombing happening
Yeah.
in some community somewhere, and the schools are breaking down, right?
Yeah.
And
how do you keep kids in school and when there's war happening? That
yeah, and I
seems
mean, they
very
were really
impossible.
hesitant to speak with us because they also knew that we were coming back to America. So then there was that fear factor,
Yeah.
right?
What are you going to tell
Like,
America?
what's the message is coming back to
Yeah.
America? Because we're all already in terrible shape. So we went through 2 or 3 days of meetings before we were able to meet with them. And we had to meet with them in a public space, and there were guards everywhere, and we had a time constraint, and only one person could talk at a time, and everybody was recorded for everything they said. And this was just for us to ask them questions and for them to tell us what was happening in the school systems, because we wanted to know how we could help organizations, specifically NGOs, organizations that were helping parents help their children, because if their children don't get educations, right, they're going to die. They're going to keep dying. They're going to keep dying young.
They're going to keep doing the war cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to keep doing the war cycle, So there was some really poignant, every moment over there was poignant. We all took a little bit of money, and we did some shopping, so they liked our money, which was interesting. And then I realized when I came back, I had bought, lapis and coral is a big industry over there in Afghanistan, And I didn't really do my homework, but I realized when I got back that the lapis mining and the coral mining over there was like the lowest sweatshop wages. So adding more insult
So
to
almost
injury.
slavery.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you know what I did? I gifted almost everything I had. I think I have like 2 pieces left. But I gifted. She's laughing. What are you doing?
No,
But
it's funny. It's funny. It sucks.
Yeah, because
It
you want to
sucks
help so
because
bad.
it sucks.
Yeah,
Try
yeah.
so hard.
because we wanted to give them
yeah.
money,
Yeah.
right? So, but I gifted
Ah.
it all the stuff with the caveat of explaining to them, you
Yeah.
know, wear this with peace in mind.
I
Because,
understand, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you know.
It's really hard to find, going to a different subject, it's hard to find a good source
Yeah.
that's ethically sourced gems and minerals from the earth.
Oh, absolutely.
It's so hard because these places around the world are just hiring people for pennies if they pay them at all.
Yeah, conflict minerals are a big deal.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
What do you call them?
Conflict minerals, like
Conflict
that's this where basically slaves are
Diamonds.
kids are
Diamonds,
blood
diamonds are a big
diamonds,
one.
and especially this right here, your cell phone. That's the big one. This is made from rare earth, and if it starts with a Q, forget the name of it, but the stuff that
right.
the stuff that they have to get to make these crystals to make your cell phone work is basically mined in Africa by kids with sticks.
Yeah.
And they're getting paid nothing. They have a pair of shorts on and bare
probably
feet.
get paid for clean water is probably what
maybe
they're getting paid.
if they're lucky.
Sure they do.
If they're lucky,
If
you
they're
get- but-
lucky.
But,
Yeah.
most of the time they're mining, so all their water is being tainted by the mine because
Sure.
they have to rinse that stuff off and build mines. And there's the same. It's just a disgusting cycle. You know, and my computer, the computer we're recording on right now is all of it, everything.
Right. We can't think about that too awful much because if we think about it,
Oh, it'll drive you nuts.
because we're so attached to technology, and we wouldn't be doing this if we didn't have all of that, right? So
I mean,
so what do we do?
What
I
do
don't
you
know.
do? Yeah,
Yeah.
you just you don't buy
You
new.
buy it used. That's the
You
best
buy
thing you can
used.
do.
Recycled, used, repurposed.
That's it.
Buy it used. Yep.
Because
And
you know that's the bottom line. People aren't. You can't expect everybody's not going to stop buying stuff. That's a fact.
Oh God, no.
As long as everybody has TV and there's commercials, everybody will buy stuff. But those that do not buy stuff new, that's less money that these corporations are getting to contribute to mining the way that they're mining on the scale that they're mining at. Because if we're all just buying people's last year's garbage because they stood in line overnight for the new one, you know.
Right.
Wouldn't it be great if like Black Friday, which is a big garage
You
sale?
just be a
like,
year behind every time.
Hey, but you know what? I got a great story about that. I went to Goodwill on when did I go to Goodwill? Saturday. I went to Goodwill on Saturday, and I wasn't sure why I went to Goodwill because I don't usually go to Goodwill. I usually go to Savers. But I stopped at Goodwill in Green Valley, and everything was 50% off. There were so many people in Goodwill.
That's awesome.
And there was a line down the side.
Yeah.
There was a line down the side. That I had to leave all my stuff there, and I hid it, and I came back, and it was still there, and I was able to get it.
Yay.
You know, so that's a good thing. I mean, it's
The
nice
Goodwill
to see.
stash.
Yeah, the Goodwill stash. So it's nice to see people like, shopping for repurposed.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
No, and I love seeing new thrift stores popping up everywhere. I think it's really cool.
I think
don't
it
like Savers.
really is a change of mind. I just don't know. Like the more people I talk to, a lot of people are just over it. Like I got all this stuff and I still feel like shit.
Me too.
You know, a lot
Me
of people
too.
are just over it.
And you know what? People my age, right? So
Yeah.
like people who have kids in their 30s, right? Like there's so many of us now, and I'm so happy when I meet people like this that are like, I don't think I want my stuff anymore. And I'm like, good,
Yay,
good. We're not
get rid
supposed
of
to have all that
it.
stuff, right? That's not what our life is about. Our life isn't about stuff.
Yeah,
right?
like you were talking about the universe just slamming you. Here you go. Like we were talking about outside that and I'll make it brief real quick. We paid for the space. We moved, and then we had to live here, and we needed to downsize. And we had said, hey, we're gonna downsize. We had put that in the universe. We need to downsize. We have this huge house, and our son is gone, and our mother-in-law moved out. So now it's 2 of us in this almost 3,000 square foot house. It's too much. And so we need to downsize. And we just kind of agreed, yes, we do. And then our landlord called us, said he's selling the house. We're like, son of a bitch. So we ended up getting a house that has a huge yard that I can plant all this food in. And like half the house, but in a garage. So
Beautiful.
I'm like, perfect. I can plant all
We
this
have a
food.
mini fridge in my kitchen.
Yeah,
That's what I use.
We're using,
Really?
That's called
That's
minimalizing.
like awesome. Oh, that's
Well, because
awesome.
it's the only fridge, because he kept the fridge of the house, and the only fridge we had was my beer fridge. And I'm like, I really don't want to buy another fridge. Let's see if we can make the mini fridge work.
So far we've been making it work.
You know
What's
what? Or
in there?
put something on Craigslist and do a trade for
Yeah.
something you don't want for a
Oh,
fridge.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, do a trade for
Good
something.
Oh, the more you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never think about trading, and I am thinking about it more and more. And I listen to.
Hey, I got a free car 2 years ago.
No
On
way.
Craigslist.
I manifested a free car.
Get out.
I manifested a free car, and I traded antiques for a car. And you want to know something?
Wow.
I drove that car for a year and a half, and I
Awesome.
just gifted it to a friend of mine like 6 months ago.
That is so
when I
rad.
started working. Yeah, so
What
talk
kind of
about
car?
repurposing.
That's cool.
What kind of car was
It
it?
was a 1998 Ford Contour.
Oh, what a piece of shit. I'm kidding.
It was a trade though, so
No,
it's-
no,
that
no. I'm
makes
not,
You know what?
I just
It
was setting her up
so,
with a joke.
It
I'm
was so
sorry.
far from a piece of shit. I mean, that car had wings on it. She took me
Oh, that's
everywhere
great.
I needed to go, except on the freeway. I never went on the freeway. I never went on the freeway. Seriously. And now my friend, who's part of our tribe and community, who you
Yeah.
probably know, he's driving it everywhere.
Oh,
that's awesome.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So
That's
the-
so cool.
Trade.
So can you talk
Trade.
about what is the tribe? Talk about for a minute. What's the talk about your music. Talk about it.
The tribe?
Yeah, well at least talk about the music.
Oh, talk about the music.
Yeah.
Ah. So we have this beautiful tribe of friends and community here in
Mhm.
Las Vegas, and we do like a ridiculous amount of drumming and prayer circles and
Yeah.
gatherings.
Sorry, there's somebody
Oh,
waiting
we're
for
waving
outside.
to somebody.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm experimenting with the windows open. I want to see what it's like to do a live podcast and people walk by and see you. So
So we have this tribe, and we kind of call it Vegas Tribe, but it goes
Yeah.
beyond Vegas Tribe. And a couple of our friends actually came up with that name. So I hope we do a lot of good work in community. We do a lot of circles. We do drum circles.
Yeah.
We do prayer circles. We do meditation circles. We did your soft opening for you, which we
was
were so
amazing.
blessed to do.
How perfect was that? It was so great. My
Aw,
sign fell
thank
down
you.
during the drum circle.
Right in the
I
middle
was
of it.
so happy that happened.
It
I
was
was like,
beautiful.
yes.
And I meant to tell you, your sign is absolutely gorgeous.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It just
Thank
pops.
you.
It
Thank you.
pops,
Yeah,
pops, pops.
you can see it all the way down the street, huh?
Yeah.
it's so
Jared
great.
did it.
That's
Yeah,
Jared's
Jared.
design.
Yeah.
He was like,
Right on.
I go, are you sure?
Yeah, we're like, are you sure, Black? He's like, fucking trust me.
It's like,
Yeah,
it's
it was
gonna
amazing.
work.
White on black.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the tribe. So, there's a lot of us. We do the good work. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people who do a lot of spiritual work and healing work and body work, music, art.
You know what I love about Vegas Tribe? More
What?
than anything
Yeah.
is that you guys invite community. Like
yeah.
open
Thank you.
arms. Like
Everybody.
and what I know for us, that's what brought us to
To
that's
you,
how I
yeah.
know you.
The drum
is
circles at the
because
dry lake. Yeah.
There was an
Yeah.
event and said, "Hey, come on, come all," and I'm like, "Okay."
That's how we all met.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, we've met at Reclaimed. Well, maybe it was at the.
No,
No,
probably
I
wa-
did not know
Yeah,
any.
maybe
I did not know
We
anybody.
met out
at the
the
dry
drum
lake. Yeah,
circle,
the dry lake is where I met everybody.
And you know what? It was organic.
Yeah.
You talk about
Mhm.
organic and natural and the yin and the yang. I mean, it's
Yeah.
taken about 5 years, but we are like infinitely endless.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Infinitely
Huge.
endless.
It's beautiful.
And that drum circle you guys had after the Vegas massacre was, and we had been doing so much work ourselves. We had done our own visual, and we were burnt. You know what I mean? We had been taking calls. We were burnt out. Samantha was burnt out, especially her being an empath. She was burnt out to the max, and we just went there and just participated and healed. And your prayer was perfect. And I was happy and sad because I recorded that drum circle, and I was happy and sad it didn't turn out well.
Yeah.
You know what? And I thank you, and I love you both. And that was. I think that was. Did we do that midweek? I think we did it. Midweek.
It was a Wednesday.
It was
Yeah,
a
we
wa-
did it
I-
midweek after the shooting.
I needed it so badly.
I sat down that morning and was like, oh, I can't just say a prayer, and it just came through. It
Yeah,
just came through.
Everything was good.
And the drums were amazing, and we had so many
Mhm.
amazing drummers
That's
come
the
out.
first night I played
Yeah, and then it's
Was
like
that the first night?
with you guys. Yeah, like
Wow.
really played in front of because it was only
Wow.
Richard and I don't even two
I-
other people, and the news
Yeah.
was there, and he's like, "Somebody help me! Get up here! Get up here!"
right.
quickly.
TV's on. They're
Well,
watching
and,
us.
and I want to tell you, the reason the news was there, so there's no mistakes in our
Yeah.
lives, right?
No, yeah.
So me and Richard and
Mm.
Ashley got there early. I think it was just me and Richard and Ashley, and setting up, and we saw the news there, and there was a family over there, and they were all wearing red, and I remember I looked over there, and I was like, oh my God. So they were interviewing a family of a young man who had died.
Oh, no.
And so they saw us setting up, and Ashley's like, "What are we supposed to do, Mary Lou? What are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, nothing right now. Let's just kind of watch, And so we watched, and the father was there, and he was weeping, and the mother
Mhm.
was weeping, and the wife, and there was kids, and
Mhm.
everybody was crying. And I said, "Let's just set up." So we set up, and pretty soon the newscaster came over, and he goes, "I can't talk." And I said, "Well, I'll talk to her, And she came over and she said, "Who are you guys? What are you doing?" And so we said while we were there, and she says, "Oh, we want you as part of the interview." And I'm like, "Of
Oh.
course, of course." So we went over and I said a few words, and I think Ashley may have said a few words, and then we got to talk to the family, and then we went back over, and then we were all crying, right? And then we started the circle, and then the candlelight, right?
The candle was
The
great.
candlelight ceremony, and then
Yeah.
Maribel went over
It's
and she
so
started.
pretty.
Maribel and Dominique went over and they started making a huge heart. Were you there?
With love.
Yeah, we were there through the
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
I played drums. I was.
Yeah,
I
we
was
were
there
there through the whole
helping
thing.
set up.
Good.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't to help set up. I got there after the drums were
Yeah,
already
you
going.
came
Yeah,
late,
yeah,
but
I
I
was
was-
working.
I was so high. I'm sorry if I. Yeah, I know you were there. I know
It's
you were
Yeah,
there.
gravy.
no, it's
It's
fine.
just like-
we were all in the same zone, and it was
Mm.
very
I never expect if I go to a powerful circle, I never expect anybody to remember I was there because everybody
Me
is
neither.
so in their zone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And getting what they need
Yeah,
out of that, whether
yes.
it's meditation or thought or
Mm.
whatever they need. I'm not expecting them. It's like surfing for me. Like no one remembers what you did in the lineup. You know what I mean? When you drop in and all that stuff, you're surfing. So I just think that's the same thing with drum circles. You know?
And can I tell you something? Like we don't plan any of this.
Yeah, it's great.
We've just morphed over time and organically morphed and have been blessed with spirit and light and godness and goodness and all of the whatever it is that everybody has inside of them,
Mhm.
whether it's science or spirit or God or whatever it is. And when it happens, it just happens, and we know how to do it, and it just comes through us. And spirit comes through Richard and those hands and those
Oof.
drums, and unbelievably, and through Ashley and his crazy brain, and and I
and his didge.
and his didge, and through me, I think in the drums and my words. And
He's the
and-
conductor.
and-
I watch him.
oh yeah, he's a conductor.
It's definitely your
Yeah,
voice.
I watch him.
your
He's
words.
moving things around,
Thank
starting
you.
this, starting
Thank
that.
you.
Yep, your voice.
you.
Yep.
Your words are powerful,
Yeah, for
sister.
sure.
Give me more.
And it's so beautiful because when it comes through, you watch yourself.
Yeah,
You can watch yourself.
it's
so.
amazing.
So our tribe is pretty spectacular, and
Yeah.
we're happy to bring so much of it to your place.
Mhm.
I'm
We're
so happy you guys are
happy
willing to. Yeah, I am so happy.
happy
that
Earth, happy people, happy
Yep.
world. Mm.
It fits the, that's another reason. Like this location, we were gonna move in downtown Henderson, and Universe pushed us here, and I could see why. Because this is, we could just shoot the light out into there's a food desert here, and there's people that need real help in this community next to us. That even it's just a place to kick it, they feel safe. You know what I mean? And that's all we can be.
I'm
here
so
for.
happy you chose this spot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So happy you
It's
chose
so
this spot.
it's
It
like right in the
chose us.
center of the Vegas.
To be
Like,
clear.
it did choose us.
You chose us.
And it has such history. This is the first shopping center in Las Vegas.
Is it really the
Yeah.
first one?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it has huge history. You know what I mean? And you
Yeah.
look around and like I just know what's planned for this place. So I'm just so excited for
Well,
for the reloadus.
And it's funny. I think all of this, this timing of everybody coming together and things
Mhm.
everybody seems to be on the same awakening state or
Mhm.
trying to become awake or at least being open enough to hear different perspectives. At least in my circles,
Yeah.
could be different in mine, though.
Mhm.
But it's nice. It's nice because I feel it coming.
No, you've just opened up a
Something big
home.
is
You've just
coming.
opened up a
Yeah,
home.
and I'm excited to
so
see.
many people
Yeah.
and so many workers
Yeah.
and so many places to go. And there's been a few that have come and gone. And my dear sister Jen and Reclaimed.
Yeah.
I mean, that was such a sacred space. And
Are-
and you're just duplicating plus. And
Are you gonna be able to be here on Friday for the open mic?
this Friday?
This Friday.
It's every Friday.
Probably.
Listen, if you knew Justice, if you knew Jen, and you understand what she did, and
Well, she's one of my dearest friends.
So
Yeah.
you fucking have to be here for what I'm unveiling.
Oh, that's right. That's this Friday.
That's this
That's
Friday.
this
I
Friday.
am not going to be here this Friday. I'm going to be in Santa Barbara.
Aw.
Oh,
But
does
it'll
she
be
know? Does she know what you're
She,
unveiling?
yeah, she's seen the picture. You want to see the picture?
Well, yeah, I want to see the picture. She just called me this morning. We talked for like 10 minutes, and I had to
Since
go.
you're not gonna be here, but you cannot tell anybody what this
So,
is.
I have an idea. I have an idea what
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I have an idea what it
for
is.
the listeners, open mics are going to be every Friday, 6:30 to 10 p.m. Again, that is every Friday, 6:30 p.m. to 10
Because
p.m.
I have that sign.
Oh, where are you going to put that?
Right there.
Can I see it again? Oh,
Are you tearing up?
I just have.
The big reveal. Well, once this goes on, everybody will see it.
I
so.
just have such chills. I have
Isn't that
such
amazing?
chills.
Yay!
I love you,
Yeah.
Jen and Aaron.
Yeah.
Oh.
My nephew and I Because
That's like so cool.
what
Isn't it,
it was on is dead. Like the thing it was. You remember?
Right.
So that thing
Yeah.
is not usable.
So you
anymore.
rebuilt it.
Yeah, repurposed it.
Aw.
fixed it a little
Yeah.
bit, changed it
Yeah.
up a little.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those things where people
People who know.
who know are gonna know. And they're gonna go, okay, where am I? What is this space? As soon as they see it, they're gonna go, okay, we need to be in Happy Earth Market. What is it?
Mhm.
You know what? That's such an
I
amazing
love
idea.
it. I love
That's
it. Love
so
it.
cool you did that. Does
Well,
Quincy know about
it's
it too?
Yeah, we told them both that we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
doing it,
yeah.
and it's
'Cause
more
it-
than anything. She's
yeah.
like the biggest inspiration. That space.
That
of
open
hers,
mic is the inspiration for this store.
Is it really?
The open mic, because that's where I go in there. I'm like, oh, open mics, we got nothing else to
Didn't
do.
we have great times there?
Oh
I
my
fucking
God.
loved
It was
it.
such an amazing time.
Oh.
And anybody could go with any instrument and do
Yeah,
anything
do
at
whatever
any
they
time.
wanted.
Yep.
And it was always working just
Yeah.
perfectly.
Oh,
And
it's so
speakers in
great.
the streets,
Yeah,
right?
yep.
And I mean, that was just a time in
I
our lives
loved
like
it.
no other. And so many people grew through there and flew through there.
I know.
Yeah.
And can
Oh
you imagine?
my God.
Yeah.
And the tribe
Ugh.
that grew from
That grew
there,
from
and,
it.
and the
That
family.
spread all the different
the
all the
family.
different
Oh, yeah.
nucleuses that shot off of. And then
Oh, yeah.
remember how dope it was across the street. There was that cube thing going on, and they just built that meditation center.
Yeah.
Just built it with no permit or anything, man. That was so
Are
rad.
you talking about Life Cube?
Yeah.
No, not
no,
wasn't
no,
no
Life
no
Cube.
no
Yeah,
no.
what are
It
you
wasn't Life Cube. It was they just built this.
Justice talked about
They
it
just
on the
built
other
a,
podcast.
yeah, they just built this
Remember?
gazebo,
What's it called?
and there was people in there doing meditation.
It was
and
for suicide.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's where the healing garden is right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
That's
exactly where it is.
Oh yeah, no. So we did a bunch of yoga and meditation
That
and
place was so cool.
circles over there. Yeah, it
and
was
and
insane.
Chen's band would always play there with no permits. We're just playing. Like I fucking love it.
Yeah.
No, but Justice had a big part in this space, and she knows.
Oh,
she
yeah.
knows how she's
Mm.
influenced my life greatly. In
Oh,
this
absolutely.
space, and
But
you
yeah,
know,
she's done the show.
Oh, she has.
Yeah, she was the second
yeah.
guest because she was the
Ah.
second guest, and we told her what we were doing. We needed to have you on so we can pick your brain, and we needed to talk to her about what worked and what failed.
Oh, beautiful.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so smart. Yeah, so smart.
Yeah, like because we would like if Reclaimed was still open, we never in a million years would have opened
Would've
this
done
place.
this.
We would
right?
just make
Wouldn't
all
need to.
Reclaimed.
Yeah, we wouldn't need to.
That
We
is
could-
so awesome. I'm so happy you're telling this story. That's so awesome. And I mean, there were so many of us that did so many different things in there. I mean, we had a
Yeah.
onslaught of artists and musicians
Amazing.
and activists. We did
Yeah.
a whole activist room there for a while.
Oh, I remember that.
I mean, I taught
Yeah.
I taught yoga and meditation there for a long
Yep.
time. We just did a myriad.
I have
A myriad of
I have
things,
real
yeah.
friends that I still kick it with just from
Yeah. From
Robert
hanging out in there.
and Vera. That's how I know them. You know what I mean? And what's wrong? Those are the neighbors doing their thing.
Oh.
Tripping me out.
Yeah, there's a
I was
music
like,
school
there's
next
a
door.
phone or something. I thought it was somebody's phone. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
they're doing their singing
Being totally
lessons next door.
distracted.
Well, you know, Justice and I still call her Jen because we know
Mhm.
each other for so long, and she's
Mhm.
okay with that. But we went to what's the coffee shop now? What's it called?
Yep. I know it.
Oh, the coffee
Vit-
shop
Vit-
where
Vit-
that
Vit-
Reclaimed is now.
what's it called?
Yeah, I
Vit-
don't know. I haven't been inside.
I feel bad because it's a nice coffee
Yeah.
shop. I'll think of it and Google it. Yeah.
Google it.
Anyhow, she stayed
What are you
with
gonna
me.
Google where Reclaimed was?
Yeah, right. Coffee shop by
Coffee
Reclaim.
shop where Reclaimed was.
Vesuvio. It's not Vesuvio. Vesuvius.
Yeah.
That's the god. Anyhow, we went there when she stayed with me a couple of weeks ago for the run fair,
Oh, that's
and
cool.
and the vibe was beautiful. And I'd never been in there.
Yeah.
And we walked in there. Of course, the whole thing's built out. And what's it called?
Vesta Coffee Roasters.
Vesta.
Vesta.
That's
Vesta.
right.
So
Yeah,
go
yeah.
Vesta. Beautiful. How could it not be
Yeah.
beautiful with all that
Mhm.
space there?
Dude, and especially the energy that they are, it's still there.
Did you see how they changed it
You
though?
know what
Yeah,
I
the
mean? The
energy's
energy
on.
from Reclaimed is
Oh,
still there.
It's still there.
Yeah.
How they changed what?
The inside is completely.
Oh yeah, the build out was amazing.
Yeah.
The build out was.
They took
amazing.
both
Different.
floors, right?
No,
Oh, okay. From the outside, I haven't been in there, so.
Yeah.
but they went all the way back.
It's
Okay,
all the way
they did
back.
go
and
all
it's
the way
just
back.
completely open.
Yeah.
It does not.
You wanna,
That
You
sounds
go-
like a ice cream truck.
It's weird, right? I'm glad you said that because it's really distracting me.
It's okay.
But, yeah. Anyway, I don't know what I was gonna say, but the space is really open. It doesn't feel if you were to go into the coffee place now.
Yeah, it
there's
doesn't feel like.
no way you would go. This was reclaimed.
So I didn't realize this
Ever.
was your story. It's so beautiful. I love you too even more now. I love you too even more now. That's just
Yeah.
like that's wonderful.
Well, everything everything in our life, the change in our life from going non-GMO, going anti-plastic, all these things,
Steps.
all these
yeah,
steps that we took. She was hosting events in her space.
that led us to.
So we would go and listen to teachers and
Mm.
discuss things,
Mhm.
and
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it just, and we would plan our activist meetings there, and
Yeah,
we
well, the
had our
GMO
activist meetings
the
there and
GMO
stuff, so.
movement, March Against Monsanto, all that stuff was planned right there.
Yep.
We did it
So
all right there.
it was, she.
Yeah, I was one of the organizers for the original
Yeah.
March Against Monsanto. So me and Angie and
Yeah.
Jen and Jody and so many of us. And
Yeah.
Sam
there's-
was there too.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
and Nikki and
and you and Nikki.
Yeah.
And yeah, right?
Yeah. We were the green shirts.
You were the green shirts. That's right. I didn't.
Same fight.
I
Just
didn't
different
even,
team.
I didn't even remember everybody. You were the green shirts.
Well, you would never recognize
And it was a fight for a while, wasn't it?
I don't even understand. I never
If
got
you look
involved.
at the picture of her over
Oh, you
there,
didn't? No, me neither.
I didn't even care.
You know what? And Lily, my girlfriend Lily, she used to be here. So she used to live here. So we went solely because I was doing flash mobs.
Yeah.
So we
Have
did the
fun.
Yogi for Peace flash mob. So
I
I
love
would
it.
go to those meetings and everybody was so passionate when we were organizing the GMO free marches. And I would just sit there and like, and Lily was like, I'm oming with you, sister.
I couldn't get involved, man. I'm like, look,
Yeah.
I'll help with it. I'll pass out flyers, but that.
But you know.
my name's Saul, and that shit's between y'all.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, by the first year we had like 3,200 people.
No, I
It was
couldn't believe
crazy.
it.
Yeah,
You know,
it's
because
beautiful.
we showed up early to set up Angie's table at that march.
Oh, you
and
did?
We were like the second person there, and I'm like, okay, this is about what I thought it was going to be. And then before
first year?
Yeah, and before I knew it, I couldn't even find my people I came with. I was like, oh
Mhm.
shit, because her brother showed up to support us and stuff like that. I'm like, I can't even. Where's my son? And
Did you do the flash mob with us?
no, I don't think we did any
I have
of
some
those.
great pictures of that.
Oh, that's
Fun.
rad.
Yeah, we did the flash mob before we started marching. But
Yeah.
so much was
So-
birthed out and through that space, and now in your space here. No wonder.
Yeah.
So Anthony and I
Yeah.
talked at the soft opening, and he wants to do the march again, and we
Who?
want Anthony.
Oh, Anthony.
Poster, yeah.
Yeah.
So he wants to do the march again, and we're talking about starting and ending it here.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I want to really bad.
We are so far behind the
gonna
rest of the countries in this world.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
Yeah, but you know what,
Hopefully,
like-
hopefully, HEM is going to be the hub for all of the eco change and socially conscious changes that's
We
going to
would-
happen.
we
in
would
the
love
You
it
see
to
it
be,
happen.
yeah.
I can feel it.
This is
That's
the
what this table's
radiation
for.
spot.
Gosh
Yep.
darn it.
Well, we need to start doing some networking events here.
Yeah,
Just like networking
Absolutely.
I
events.
agree.
Community networking
Mhm.
events, and
I
have
wonder what
like
that
a
look-
theme,
Yeah.
every month a different theme, and get people in the door who want to do things.
Because
who
there's people
wanna
doing
do things.
all this different work, man. If we just were even networking so we knew about each other, that would be dope.
Yeah, you know what? Our biggest challenge, or at least
Mhm.
my biggest challenge, the work I do, but I think most of our biggest challenge in Tribe and all the work
Yeah.
everybody does, is the outreach, because it's easy for us to outreach to each other,
Yeah.
and we're all in,
Yeah.
right?
It-
We're all in, but the difficulty is reaching far, 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 far beyond all of
Outside
us.
of our
It's
circles.
easy to talk in an echo chamber.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we need. That's another reason why we wanted to open the store,
Yeah.
because we want people to have a place, that place like Reclaim was, where it was comfortable for somebody to get their feet wet.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, well, that's kind of strange to me. Let me put my toe in the water. And before you know it, you're organizing GMO marches. And you don't even know what happened.
Yeah. Or opening up another store just like it.
You know what I mean?
5 years later.
You know what I mean? To where when you go out to some place that can be very intimidating, like the drum circles out at the dry lake, because it's dark getting out
And
there.
there's so
and
many
so
people
many
out
people.
there.
But
Right.
then you're like, hey, I don't know that dude, but I've seen him at XYZ. So
Mm.
I feel like there's friendly faces here, and
Yeah.
I could sit down and meditate here and not feel like I'm in a bad place. You know what I
It
mean?
warms my soul to hear all that.
Yeah.
Because 5 years ago when we started talking about the drum circles in the
Mhm.
dry lake bed,
Yeah.
we were doing drum circles out at Oak Creek for like 20 some years. Well,
Yeah.
we weren't, but people were. But it was Joe and it was Richard and
Mhm.
a little bit of me and a few other people, Keith, blessed Keith, brother Alcantara, and we were just talking about how can we make this bigger, and then
Yeah.
somebody said, let's go out to the dry lake bed. And I remember saying, oh, I used to take my son out there and shoot off rockets, rocket shots and stuff, right?
Everybody did.
Everybody did, right? And I remember when we were planning, I was like, how are we going to do it? And we kept coming back to simple. We just go out there and do it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
go
you
out
just
there
throw an event up and drum.
And pretty soon our whole tribe was coming out there.
Yeah.
Everybody's bringing blankets and bringing their children and bringing food,
Yeah.
and bringing
So
lights, and it was
awesome.
So amazing.
and dancing around the fire,
Yeah.
and then all these different communities of tribe were coming
Yeah,
together, and
yeah.
it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew and it grew
Yeah.
and it grew. It's just like ecstatic. Just
It was
ecstatic
fun.
community.
It was so fun. It was our church. I loved going.
Yeah, that's what we call it, our
We
church.
called it
Yeah,
church.
we didn't miss it.
Yeah.
It was, we didn't.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't miss it for a couple years. But
Yeah.
then things keep changing. We have to keep growing, right?
Right.
And so now we're just growing more and more in community. And I mean, we talk about that a lot actually. How can we reach out to more community? And we did an event a couple weeks ago
We need a mirror there, right? When we're doing the show, we need a mirror there so you can see.
It
So
needs
you
to be
can
right
see.
there. Right there you go. One down.
Well, our old house,
One
we
down,
did a
one, two.
podcast in our old house, and there was a mirror where I sat here. This was the same seating arrangement, but there was a mirror right there, and so I always hated it because I'm always looking at myself the whole show. It drove me
there's one right
crazy.
there. Yeah,
Yep.
there's one right there. Well, what was I saying? Oh, we did the interfaith council. We're here in town. We do a annual Thanksgiving event, and we actually did this event at a church, right? Which we also do every year. It's some religious or spiritual location. This happened to be the church. But I was pretty instrumental in convincing our board, since I'm on the board of the Interfaith Council here in Southern Nevada. I was fairly instrumental in convincing our board that we can't do another Thanksgiving celebration unless we speak the truth. And so the truth is we shouldn't be celebrating Thanksgiving. We should be honoring our indigenous brothers and sisters and the pain and torture and horror they went through and honoring our land, right? And so got the board to agree to it, right?
Awesome.
So
are they gonna
so I actually brought Johnny out,
That's
from
great.
Western Shoshone, and
I love it.
he actually opened it up with a beautiful prayer, and we opened it up. We opened it up with him with some drumming and didgeridoo and some handpan from Ashley. So here we were out there in mainstream
I love
community.
it. I love it.
We were in mainstream stream community.
Father
with a
Jim's
couple-
there in his thing.
Yes, Father Jim was there in his thing. So we had a couple.
In his collar.
In
excuse
his
me.
collar, yeah. So we had a couple hundred people, all walks of life, people who still do religion, because to your earlier point,
Yeah.
people still do what they do. People still watch TV, people still do religion. But you know what? We were jamming with a drum
love it.
circle. We had the
Amazing.
doors open, and you know what? People were loving it. And then we opened up with a prayer for the land and our people, and people love that. So we want to talk about Vegas Tribe.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
And
it's all love.
That's
Love and
monumental.
light.
And that's the
Love and light.
beginning.
Yeah.
The acknowledgement. Like we can't go back and change history, but we can
No.
we can acknowledge. And if we acknowledge honestly, then we can move forward. But if we can continue to whitewash it, then it's never gonna fix. It's
Exactly.
there will never be any kind of healing until you can honestly. It's just like the 12 steps, right? We got to admit that we have a problem first, guys. So that's what we got to do. So that's one of the big goals of this show for next year is to do, to get some Native American history on it, because I've done the veteran history and I love it, but that's not my comfort zone. That is my comfort zone. I need to step out and learn some things that I don't know.
Well, we have some really powerful community of Native Americans and indigenous people here in Las Vegas and beyond, and you and I talked about it. So I'm sure you're not going to have any problem getting
I'm
people on
excited.
here to talk.
And I've started doing my homework this weekend on the tribes that are even in this area. I want to know this history first.
Awesome.
And so I started doing my homework this weekend. So
Paiutes,
I had no idea
and
there
the
was
Washa.
and the Western
so many.
Shoshone.
Western Shoshone, obviously.
Is it
Yeah.
17 or 2,700 tribes
Here
in the U.S.?
in Nevada, no, there was.
No, not in Nevada, the U.S.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
Do you know?
I don't know how many
It's
tribes
huge.
in the U.S.
It's huge.
Currently?
But there's tribes and then there's nations and then there's sovereign nations.
Yeah.
So you have the sovereign nations and the nations that have a multitude of tribes underneath them.
Yeah.
Well, not underneath them, because it's interesting.
it's
The tribes
tier.
the tribes don't report up to the sovereign nation, but the tribes are part of the sovereign nation.
Sure.
But they're kind of like this is a pretty mainstream word. They're kind of like subsidiaries of the nation,
Sure.
right? So they all have their own councils, right? But then the nations have their councils. So
But then the councils meet like once a year or so, right? All of them.
I think they meet more than that.
More than
Most
that.
of them,
I hope so.
meet,
Yeah,
monthly
and
maybe.
like everybody else, I was moved by the DAPL protests. You know what I mean? I'm not
Absolutely.
immune to that. I was
Oh, yeah.
really
That
moved
changed
by
me.
it and upset
Changed us.
that we as a people didn't stand up again and stop it. Even though we tried, we gave up.
And now look what happened. You know, there's been a
this
spill.
week,
Right?
this past week, 25,000
Yep.
gallons or something. No,
But
more than that.
one of the ironic bright lights is the lawsuits going forward. So
I
the
know it.
lawsuits going forward.
Yeah.
So keep putting out the good energy and intention that
That's all
some
we can do at this
mountains
point.
are moved. Some mountains are moved there, and and I think that's where our social media and podcasts, and all of this is so vitally,
It's vital.
critically
The whole thing is.
important,
To
right?
talk about it and
because the
educate.
sad thing is, and now I'm really going off topic.
No,
but
you're not. You're on it.
Like Saturday night, I was downtown and parked my car at the Artifice. I was on the phone, and I got off the phone. I was on the phone for like an hour, and I got off the phone. And I looked over, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go to the Helium Memorial, And I walked across the street, and it was like 10 o'clock, and there was nobody there. So we got a city of 2 million people, and I was supposed to be there, I guess. So I walked around and did my thing, and just meditated a bit and sat in silence and what have you. But what I was thinking was, it's so easy to forget.
So
Quickly.
quickly. Yeah.
Even if quickly, even if you're a light worker or you're a spiritual worker, all of the stuff that we do and we say we do, we're still human, and so our humanness makes us wake up every morning and pay the bills, hopefully, and go hopefully,
Yeah.
and go buy food,
Yeah.
and and go to work,
Yeah.
go do the job so we
Yeah.
can do the work,
Yeah.
right? And it really hit home Saturday night. I was like, oh, we can never stop the peaceful fight.
Nope.
I'm with you on the fight as long as
Mhm.
a peaceful, nonviolent fight. We
See,
can't.
my
ever
only
stop
issue was
it.
like sit there during the Dalpa protest. The only way I would have ever decided to pick up arms is if that one of those veterans would have been shot. I would have been out there. That wouldn't have been a question. I would have jumped in my car, quit my job, and went straight out.
Yeah, I can't comment to that.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm
I don't know
one-
about violence, but I would have been there to help something.
Most days I'm a breath away from being a pacifist, but
Yeah,
I can't lay down.
Right.
So
Right.
that's why I'm not a pacifist. But
But but God bless those people. Getting shot with tear gas right in the face, and just continue to pray for that person in front of them. I can't think of anything more powerful than that.
Well,
I can't imagine the guy spraying the mace. Like
What?
yeah, but you know what? Read
what kind
Gandhi,
of demons?
right? So Gandhi
Yeah.
got angry.
Yeah.
And I mean, Gandhi fought back in his own way. Gandhi fought back in a powerful way. Gandhi's
Absolutely.
people fought back in a powerful way. They fought back in an intellectual way.
Mhm.
Okay, they fought back with their words, right? And they fought back with their behaviors. And they didn't fight back with arms. And they did get arrested. And
Mhm.
the peace movement's still pretty strong. This
Absolutely.
is going to take us right back to Afghanistan.
It's okay.
Yeah, the peace movement's still strong, still very strong in this country. So I mean, there's people all over this country and all over the world that really believe in civil disobedience, right?
Yeah, I do.
And yeah, I know you do. And really believe in the peaceful fight without using weaponry and without using violence. And like one of the
Right.
things I'd like to do at your place here next year is teach some community nonviolence classes.
I
Oh,
think
that would be
sounds
amazing. And
Okay.
that's
Totally.
what's
Totally.
missing a lot
Yeah.
right now is just a little bit of guidance from people who have done it. And there's a lot of kids right now in the millennial generation. Talk as much crap as you want. A lot of them are trying this whole new thing.
Yeah.
I think they just need a little bit of steering.
Yeah.
Just a little bit of steering. Yeah, we can do
Yeah.
this, guys. You just gotta. You can't be. You just. You can do it
Gotta
better.
have the right
Yeah.
teachers.
Yeah, they need a little bit of steering.
Yeah, I think so.
I
Can we go back
agree.
to Afghanistan for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
I when I was
so cute. You're
I just had
adorable.
something. Aw. You are too.
You really are. You just.
All right, stop it. There's men
Okay,
listening.
Sorry.
Aw, I love you, Sam.
I love you
Sam.
too,
And before we
Raven.
go back to Afghanistan, there's no mistake. Jen and I haven't talked for like a month, and we just talked this morning, and we're going to talk again tomorrow morning. So our circle's small.
It is.
Totally.
Our circle's
Oh
small.
yeah.
And I mean, we do a lot of work with each other and for each other and on each other and about each
Absolutely.
other on a pretty regular basis.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
blessings from that. Yeah.
Mm.
When I was reading up on some of the facts, because I don't really, I pretty much dropped out of the news except for about once a month anymore. That's about all I can take.
The
I
news
just
is
keep the
huge
CDs
right
flowing.
now, though.
Huh?
Nothing. I was trying to do a Donald Trump. Didn't work.
Democracy Now! Is pretty much my feed. And sometimes, sometimes Al Jazeera, but definitely Democracy Now! So I read something that was pretty interesting. It was about Afghanistan. So there's a gentleman, his name is Ananda Gopal, beautiful name.
That is a
And
great name.
Isn't that a great name?
Yeah.
He's assistant professor of research studies at ASU. And he said that the Afghan war is what he refers to as a war of attrition. He said because both sides keep dropping off and dropping out, and new people keep coming on.
Mm-hmm.
He said it's a war of attrition. He said, be it through death, be it through poverty, be it through a minute number of people saying I'm done and leaving the country. He says it's a war of attrition. And he wrote a book, and the book is called No Good Men Amongst the Living. And it's all about Afghanistan. And so the book, which I didn't read the book, but the book kind of focuses on all of the corruption over there, which is what I was starting to share a little bit with. When we spent time over there, there was really, you can never really trust anybody completely, and they can never trust us completely. So guess what? Even the good people, even the NGOs, even the emergency hospitals, even the peace delegations who spent every waking hour while they were over there doing the good work, were never completely trusting anybody else. And so when I'm not trusting you sitting across to me, we are not having a good vibe.
Yeah.
The energy's not flowing,
I
right?
understand, yeah.
And healing's not happening.
I guess it can't. Yeah.
So I'd love to read his book. He said that this war is a war of perpetuity, a war of perpetuity. So he's a big believer that the war is never really going to end. And he said we really don't know the numbers over there anymore because the reporting's like
doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist,
much,
I mean, there was 55 civilians killed just a couple days ago over there. He said that both sides are more or less equally matched on a regular basis. And so, when I was reading this and you're thinking about it, this is like the perfect war. It's the perfect war. Keep feeding men in and keep spinning them in, spinning them out,
never
spinning
ends.
them in, spinning them out.
So it'll always generate money.
Yep. And neither Obama nor the Trump administration is interested in pulling out.
No.
Like he's sending more people over there. So
they probably can't anyway.
Yeah, whoever's
really
in charge of Trump isn't going to let that happen.
Right, I agree with that.
Presidents don't do things.
Yeah, and then we can have the whole conversation about the empire.
Yeah,
right.
Well, that's another podcast.
Yeah, well, it is. Right, and the war machine's part of the empire, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and we know that. And, we're still all trying to figure out why Trump is in there. But, Trump's bringing in more light, in my opinion, than any other president's brought in. So.
You know what fully convinced me that there's
bringing out all the light.
Stuff up at play is that YouTube clip of the scripts that they sent the news. And every news agency across the country reads the same thing in the morning. The whatever the national news is, and it's the same exact thing every single. And I'm like, holy shit! And it's because the news is now run by like 3 corporations. You know what I mean?
We call them
and those 3 corporations are own big pharma, and it just goes on and on and on. I don't want to sound too uneducated. It's just funny.
Well, but we're all kind of uneducated about it. I mean, us talking about it makes us so much more educated than the masses.
Yeah.
True.
I mean. The masses still don't believe that. Yeah. The masses are still afraid.
You know what makes you more educated than the masses? Shutting off your television.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best thing anybody can do for yourself.
Pick up a book.
Dude, keep your internet, keep your whatever.
Talk to your neighbor.
Yeah, talk to your neighbor, but turn off your television. For God's sake, get rid of cable.
Drum.
Yep.
I've been living out
Stop going to the doctor.
Yeah.
Stretch and
stop
take
going
a
to
deep
the
breath.
Doctor. Or just stop going to the doctors.
Go walk out in nature.
What's your advice, JR? You got nothing?
Just be a good person.
That's pretty good.
Aww. That's it too. That's it too. That's so it.
Yeah, just be nice.
Just be kind. Jesus.
Just be kind.
I like to say be a better person. Be a better human today than I was yesterday. And however that is.
And I'm sure you are because you're a beautiful soul.
Oh, thank you. I try to just be like my dog, AJ. He's the coolest. He's the coolest person I've ever met. See, he even makes JR giggle, just the name. See, that's my dog.
You know what's funny though?
Shout out to AJ.
He gets extra excited when he sees me.
Aw.
Yeah, our dog.
Because you're a good person.
Our dog loves this guy so much.
Right on, man.
He did like.
Our dogs are our barometers.
Absolutely. Oh, if my dog doesn't like you probably aren't getting a re-invite.
Oh, let me tell you.
Yeah, that call ain't going out again. No, buddy.
One of the things me and my friends talk about, and activist friends, but large percentage of my activist friends have also shifted into more of the love and light work, but at the same time, we also talk about how important it is that we really have to stay connected. Yeah. We have to stay connected with what's going on in mainstream, and as painful as it is to read and listen to the news and to read the horror stories. I mean, if you go on Democracy Now, I mean, their front page is just a summary of horror, one thing after another, after another, after another, after another. And Al Jazeera is even worse because it's talking about Syria. And I have this girlfriend, my best friend. I mean, we talk about like how do you balance this? Like her husband, who's a big time activist, and we did Occupy together here.
Yeah.
He puts on Fox every day, and I'm like, Barb, how do you handle that, honey?
Stop that.
And she goes, I barely walk in the room. He doesn't sit there and listen to it, but he does listen to it because you know what? And he's got a great point. Like, the last thing we need to do is be caught by surprise. So it's that balance thing.
You got to listen to both
Yeah.
sides
You
because there's truth on both sides.
So
That's the thing. There's truth on both sides.
Some truth.
You gotta be careful, man. There was a time when I was
very
listening,
little truth.
I was listening to conservative talk radio on the way to work, watching conspiracy videos at lunch, and then listening to left-wing radio on the way home.
Right.
What'd that do for you?
It drove me fucking crazy.
Who am I?
It did nothing. It did nothing but make me
know who I
realize that both sides are equally ridiculous.
Yeah, that's why you just don't.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Don't
Both
follow
sides
a
are
party.
ridiculous.
Mm.
Like, wait, you guys are saying the same thing. That's when you all of a
Just on
sudden
the
you're like,
opposite.
you guys are saying the same shit. You're just
Yeah.
saying the opposite of the other guy. It's
Yeah.
almost like you
Right.
called each other, hey, what do you think about this? Well, and then they just said the opposite. So ridiculous.
Talk about A, you talk about B.
Yeah, it's so lame.
Yeah.
And then they talk about each other a lot, like this
Yeah.
talk show host and that talk show host. Like
Right.
Rush Limbaugh talks about whatever. It's
You know,
ridiculous.
it's so funny to hear you say that because I really don't live in that world anymore.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I chose like 4 or 5 years ago to really drop out.
I ain't mad
really-
at you.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, that's why it's painful
Yeah.
when I do listen and occasionally read, you know, it's just, I still don't even associate with it. And energy wise, you know, when you hear people talking about it, I don't even shut down. I'm just not even
Yeah.
part of it. It's like they're not even there. And I think that's really what's going to save us all. This is what's going to save us all. We just have to keep morphing, like quickly,
Not.
blessedly morphing.
Yeah, and not feeding that. I just posted today
Yeah.
saying it about mindfulness, and it's such a cool thing. But being mindful of other people and feeling that energy and just not allowing it to affect you
Absolutely.
and
'Cause it
your
will,
feelings
if
and
you
your thoughts. 'Cause
Isn't
it will.
that's the video where you fed that
Yeah, you don't feed that wolf. that
yeah, if you
has
don't
no
you don't
done.
feed that wolf, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good
Well, you
it's
can't.
a good proverb,
because
yeah.
it'll drain you. It'll
Mhm.
make you so
Yeah,
sick.
totally.
It makes you
become
hateful.
disease.
Makes you really hateful.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hate
It's-
comes.
when you get on a team, you get real hateful.
Mhm.
You know, when you get well, our side is right because it's always right. Well, that's ridiculous. There's no way that your side can always be right. So your statement's flawed from the beginning.
What is right anyway?
Yeah, I know. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
we could heal the planet here tonight. You know.
We just might.
We probably did.
Yep.
I hope so.
Whoever hears this
I
is
hope
going to
so.
be healed
I
somehow, I'm
hope so.
sure.
I
I have a
think so.
feeling that every episode we put out,
Mm-hmm.
somebody here, if they listen from start to finish, no matter who you are, what episode you listen to, you'll hear something in that episode that'll touch your heart.
So happy you two are doing this.
Yeah, we love it.
It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a
If you
good,
heard our old podcast, you'd laugh at us.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
our old self.
By the way, thank you so much. Thank you so much for recording the drum circle and the prayer.
Oh,
It's
are
all
you
good, by the way.
kidding?
Oh yeah,
Good
yeah,
on
you're welcome.
you.
It wasn't usable, so now I understand how to record drum circles, so it'll be fine moving forward. You can't record them. You can't be bashful with the microphone.
Oh.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
You gotta be
Oh, it came
up
out
on
too
it.
low, actually?
Well,
You're so loud.
Where I was standing, I was getting one drum.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
I can't be I gotta get in the middle and
Yeah.
record. I can't
Okay.
be bashful. So like the one at Grow Your Own turned out amazing. The one at that not so good.
Grow Your Own was awesome, too. Thank you. That was beautiful.
That was a lot.
Oh.
That was a good time.
Beautiful day. Yeah. Beautiful
I love
day.
it when you guys play.
Yeah.
It's so.
We love it when we play too. It's such a gift. It's such
Oh,
a
it
gift
is.
to be able to get out and engage and
It
just
is.
engage people and goodness. And you know what? One of the sweetest gifts of doing a drum circle is to look up and see people who have never been to one connecting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And connecting within, like feeling it, because you know people who do shaman work and healing work, like we take people on journeys.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And so we're helping people journey into their own soul,
Absolutely.
right? And it's like so satisfying. I mean, it's nirvana.
And that's
It's
totally
nirvana, right?
And that's why I bring
Right.
it back around to saying that it's a wonderful thing. You guys open the door to the entire community for that,
No.
because you know
Absolutely.
what? What a great blessing for people who've never experienced it. They get to go experience something brand new.
Mhm.
In
And they're
a
welcome to
park.
play if they want.
and they're
you
welcome
know?
to play.
Yeah.
And Richard is such a dear.
So brave
I mean,
to let
All those
people
drums,
touch his
yeah.
drums.
his garage,
gosh.
like over 200, close to probably 250
Oh,
turns.
Where did he
I-
get all
I
of
shouldn't
those?
say that.
Just
but
time.
That's where they are. They're
We
in
need
the garage.
to we need
just
to have
time.
him on the show too.
Well,
I plan to.
so okay, I'll tell you where he got him. So he used to be the major percussionist for the Boston Pops for years.
Oh yeah, I think he said
years
that.
and
Yeah.
years.
Wow.
So and then one day, I think the way I remember the story, the way he's told to me, is that he decided that he was pretty much done, with more mainstream. I keep using that word.
That's
And
cool.
he ultimately moved to Hawaii for a while, and he did a bunch of cool stuff. And he ultimately ended up here, and he acquired all these drums over the years. And he's got a big heart, right? He's
Yeah,
got
he
a big heart.
does.
I mean, not only do we take the drums out and he lets people play them, and we have to do a count all the time. I mean, we do like a couple counts a night. To
Oh,
make
I'm sure. I never thought
You
about
know,
that.
yeah,
They will walk
Oh,
away.
wow.
Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had one or two walk away, but you know
Oh,
what?
really?
But you know what? Spirit's good
Mm.
because one or two always come back.
It's
It's just the way it
funny
works.
how it comes back.
Funny how it comes
Here you
back.
go.
There you go. There you go. But yeah, I mean, so he's acquired those over the years,
That's
and
cool.
and a lot of times he'll just give them to people for events too. So but it makes him feel good.
Totally.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I love watching them play. I love like that
He's
whole.
great with kids.
We were talking about the soft opening. Watching my two little cousins play
Aw.
and being exposed to this, something I hope especially my niece, I hope it wakes up something inside her. It's like, Mom, like what was all that? Because they live a very they try to lead a very Leave It to Beaver style life, without lack of a better word. Yeah, they're, you know what I mean. They're going to school. They're doing the soccer thing. They're
Well,
doing.
a lot of people do that.
You know what I mean? I ain't mad at them. That's
Most people do that.
yeah, they
pretty
live in
much
the small
everybody.
town that
You
I.
could say everybody.
They live in the small town that I grew up in, and that's why everybody lives there.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they're also a great community of contractors that trades everything that they do. Oh, do my tile or do your driveway, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so but to have them exposed to this, it was just amazing.
Well, and Richard is
was
so good
happy.
with
He
kids.
was great.
He loves it with kids. And it was,
He-
by the way, it's his idea to do the kids.
Yeah.
It was his idea. I'd like to say it was mine, but no, it wasn't. It was he goes, hey, let's tell them we'll do first hour with kids and then the second hour with
I
adults.
think it's a great
Perfect.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I
a great
love it.
idea. The kids
and
love
there's-
it.
and they connect instantaneously.
Oh, amazing.
So much
Yeah.
more than
Because
adults.
they're already
Yeah.
connected.
We had
really.
some of your guy
'Cause
friends
they don't
out
have
there,
that
right?
filter, yeah.
And I was like, come on, sit down. A couple of the vets. I was just like, really? Just here, just take the drum, and you know what? It's like, close your eyes. Just put your hands on the drum and close your eyes. And women
Yeah.
are better at that. Women will
Yeah.
be like, okay, boom, 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 boom. They'll close their eyes. The men are kind of like, do I really have to close my eyes? Close your eyes. Close your
They're
eyes.
all
'Cause
scared.
Then he could feel. I was all scared.
Yeah.
But then a couple of those guys, they started playing, and a couple of them really dug it.
Yeah, Mike did.
Mike loved it.
Yeah, that's where Mike got his start on this whole thing, was playing those drums, and then now he's
Oh, really?
super meditator.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see Mike
Yeah.
again. Can't wait to see Mike
I
again.
know. I love Mike.
Well, I saw him at Gobble Gobble Give.
That's cool.
Gobble Gobble Give was fun. That
Yep.
was a good event.
Yep. That was a good time.
Well, we are going on a trip that nobody understands right now. Who are these people you're talking about?
Right? It's like, what? Who? What are you doing? What's Gobble Gobble
Who's
Give?
Mike?
Who's Mike?
So Gobble Gobble Give is where we feed homeless in the parking lot in downtown
On
Vegas.
Thanksgiving. I like
Yeah,
what you
on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah, and like I
It's
like
fun.
what you said on like we do this every day, like and we do it every day. That's what I love, but there's a lot of people in Vegas that really have a passion for taking care of the homeless.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a
Mhm.
good thing. And I'm sure that's in every city, but people
I don't know.
most people outside of Las Vegas would never think Vegas had a warm
You
heart.
know what? We
and
have
it
we have
does.
an amazing community of
Yep.
givers. Amazing community.
We
of
really
givers.
do.
it really is crazy.
Yeah.
And when you do something like Gobble Gobble Give,
Yeah.
which has been going on, this is the 5th year, and Shane Stewart from Panacea, he helped put that on with Silo, Moses, and Silo, and this is no secret. Do you guys know Silo?
I do not know
So
any
Silo
of the
Moses was the birther, I think, along with Shane Stewart. So Silo was homeless for 8 years.
Oh, I did not know that.
And he pulled his way out here in Las Vegas.
Very
and he
cool.
does amazing stuff now. And he is one humble, sweet, loving dude.
That's
Yeah. Yeah, so he put that together. But, when we went down there, and I think I've been there maybe 3 or 4 years, but when I got there Saturday morning, just kind of took a look around. We set all our drums up and everything and walked around. And there's like so much family there.
Absolutely, isn't it amazing?
So
Oh,
beautiful.
it's incredible.
Kids, I love it.
Yeah. No, I mean our family. I mean our
Oh,
tribe
oh,
family.
yeah,
Our
yeah.
tribe family too. I mean, just like so many friends. Like,
Yeah.
hey, love you, love you, love you, love you. How you
Just
doing?
ran into everybody we
Yeah,
know.
Yeah. And I mean, I think our community is pretty much a leader in that regard. I've lived a lot of places, and I see a lot more giving, a lot more love, a lot more life, and goodness, light and goodness than a lot of places.
Yeah, a lot more
Yeah.
giving just of people, not of entities, not of corporations.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's not like
Yes.
that this corporation is doing that. It's us. We're doing it.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
All of that.
Yeah, we're doing it just because it's the right thing, not because.
And because we can.
Yeah, and because we can.
Because we were blessed with the gift to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because not everybody is. Right?
Most people are.
Think so?
Everybody can hug.
Everybody can hug, but I think a lot of people have been brought into this life with a lot of pain, and so And I guess that's because maybe it's some of the work I do, but oh no, I think everybody has love in them. Don't misunderstand me. I'm all about love.
I
No,
get
I
The
it.
world
know.
has love in it, but I don't.
We
I
totally get what you're saying.
I believe that those of us who do the work, like you two and Reclaimed and all our friends, we've been given a gift because
Yeah.
there's so many people walking around who need a lot of help,
Mhm.
a lot of help. That it's
Yeah.
very difficult to tap into what they have inside of them. And I also believe that a lot of them, sorry, I'm just like pontificating, but I also
You're cool.
believe a lot of them aren't going to see that happen in this lifetime,
Well, probably not.
That's very
which is
true.
which is why we're here.
Stuck in the perpetual emotion of not being able to forgive yourself and lying in your
Yeah.
own shit. Lying in your own shit's a great place to be. I used to love it. Just laying in my own
Yeah,
self
that's so
pity and
true.
yeah, I loved it. It's such a good place to be. Just lay there. Oh, it's so
The
comforting.
devil you know.
Feel sorry for
Yeah.
yourself
The
and the
devil you
whole world's
know.
against you, and yeah, that's a great place to be.
Yeah.
It's a comfortable place to be for almost everybody.
But I mean, to be compassionate,
Mhm.
right? So to be compassionate, that takes me back to saying, I think we've been gifted with, a lot of us have been gifted with abilities to give.
Yeah.
And so what do those abilities look like? We're able to have a home and we're able to have a job so we can do the work,
Right.
Yeah.
right? And we have those people who might definitely be laying in their own shit,
Well, you definitely.
you know,
Yeah.
but they may not have the capacity this time around the sun to be able to pull the hell out of it.
You definitely got to
Hmm.
solve your 5 basic needs before you can reach out to others. If you don't do that, then you can't. You just can't. You know what I mean? If
Us empaths learned that the hard way.
all those 5 things aren't taken care of, then sorry, I don't remember the 5.
What are they?
It's like spiritual needs, food, shelter, and there's 2 more.
Spirituality, food, shelter.
Fulfillment
Hmm.
and water.
And I think water and employment or something like that. But anyways, there's 5 basic needs, and if those aren't fulfilled, you're not helping anybody else. You're too busy trying to fulfill one of those needs. You know what I mean?
Is it one of those fulfillments?
It might be, yeah. But I think that's a spiritual piece. Yep. You could probably look it up. The 5 basic.
Google it.
The 5 basic
Google
needs.
it.
We have
Google
all.
it.
We have all of the known universes.
Googling.
All of the universes.
It's just called 5 basic needs.
5 basic needs. Yep.
5 basic needs.
Mhm.
Are
Are.
There's probably going to
there's
come up
no
20.
local results matching my search. believe it or
Oh,
not.
are you on Google or Bing?
Oh, here we go. Found it. Sorry.
That's
Here
cool.
it is. Self
It's like they don't exist anymore.
Go.
self-actualization, esteem, love and belonging, safety, and
Safety.
physiological
Physiological needs,
Yeah,
which is your food and
physiological
shelter and
needs,
all
yeah.
those things wrapped into one. So if one of those needs aren't met, you're not doing anything for anybody because you're too busy suffering in one of those needs.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a
There's a
lot of
couple
shoes
different
to fill in a
Mhm.
lifetime if you don't come into this life with a few of them.
With
I
a
believe that.
with a little bit of a leg up.
I
Yeah,
think.
absolutely.
I think.
I couldn't agree more.
I
Yep.
mean, self-actualization is kind of huge.
Yep, having parents gives you a
Kind
good
of.
advantage. Like, yeah.
I think self-actualization just happens if you're human.
You think
Doesn't
so?
it? Doesn't it? I don't know.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No?
No, I think that's the work.
Yeah.
You have to be
A lo-
something special.
A lot of people.
That goes back to Nathan's comment about swimming in the mire.
Yeah, yeah. A lot
As
of
painful as it is, right?
Yeah,
a lot of people will never take a moment to self-reflect.
true.
Yes.
They will always
Yeah.
never do that. They will
That's
never.
what the pot is for.
Yeah, smoke some weed. Or just eat a big edible. That's what I think.
Just go way too far. You're like, oh shit,
What did I do?
was I an asshole? Yeah, I was an asshole. Sorry.
I don't even remember.
So it wasn't me. It was somebody else. No.
Yeah, cool, man.
This was a good show.
This is a good
do you
show.
do you have anything you want to
Promote, say,
Message.
talk about?
Yeah, since you asked me about this whole delegation to Afghanistan, I'd like to share with everybody that the Afghan peace volunteers, they still exist.
Okay.
And 6 years later, they're like young adults.
Right.
And they're bigger and happier and doing more than ever. They do things like duvet projects once a year. They reach out all over the world and ask people to make quilts. Right?
Oh,
how
cool.
neat.
And we send the quilts to Kabul, and they distribute them to all the provinces
Oh,
in
wow.
Afghanistan because there's so many displaced people. Because
Right.
guess what?
Yeah.
When we keep sending all these troops over there, more people keep losing their homes, civilians keep dying, et cetera. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so I wanted to share with you their website, and their
Okay.
website is called ourjourneytosmile.com.
Ourjourneytosmile.com. Cool.
Ourjourneytosmile.com. And they do powerful, powerful, powerful,
Cool.
beautiful work. And one of the coolest things they do, and maybe you could podcast them sometime.
I would love to.
One of the coolest things they do is once a month we have, I say we because I join sometimes, they have what's called a global day of listening.
Oh.
And they do a live stream for a 24-hour period, and anybody from all over the world can call in and talk with them and listen to what they're doing, in Afghanistan. And then you can talk about what, whatever we're doing here and what we would like to do for them or whatever. So,
Yeah.
Oh, very cool.
So, the end result of that trip over there was like making lifelong friends, and it was a life-changing experience. Totally started living a life, of as much nonviolence as possible, which is part of the work, because we're violent to ourselves a lot,
Absolutely.
It was forever life-changing. I just, everything in my psyche and my being shifted. From spending time with mothers and fathers and children and dying people and people who were yet to die because of the war machine in the empire, So I would go back in a heartbeat. We still have people. Voices still they send delegations over, but it's so dangerous now that only like 2 or 3 people go at a time. So, but it was incredible, fantastic. We'll talk about it again.
What a neat experience. Too,
we'll put the link
guys
up
had.
when I put this podcast up, which I'm hoping to be pretty quick. It doesn't sound like there'll be a lot to take out, if anything. I'll put the link up with the podcast to their website.
Oh, thank you so much.
No
Blessings,
problem.
my friend.
Yep.
Yeah, they're doing good work.
Cool.
It's amazing, and their website is very clean too. By the way, I have it up right now.
It's a very nice website.
Very
It's a beautiful
it's
website,
clean,
isn't it?
It's clean,
very
and they have
user-friendly.
it goes back really far. You can look at their pages from way back.
Very
when,
cool.
So, yeah,
That's cool.
a lot of stuff to look
you can
at
see
here.
the history and
Beautiful.
awesome.
Beautiful,
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful people. And they're on Facebook too, and I chat with a few of them from time to time, and and they like the work we're doing over here. And I think what's most important for this group, who it's pretty large now, is that they keep connections worldwide.
Very cool.
Because by them keeping connections, and that's how
It just keeps the circle going.
keeps the circle going.
Yep.
The wheel of life.
Yeah.
Yep. Just keeps it going.
Cool. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Oh,
I
I love
appreciate it.
you,
It was
Mary
it's so
Lou.
easy to get you
I
on.
love you. Yeah. Love you both. You're just such a beautiful, beautiful place, and so many blessings again for your
thank you
space
so
and
much.
your place and your life and all the goodness that's going to come through this
Thank
story.
you.
Of course, it's going to happen. So
Has to.
Yeah, has
Universe
to.
said so.
and it's so pretty in here. Come down here. It's so pretty. Nice, clean, fresh vibe. Good energy.
Heck yeah.
Mhm.
But
And the floors are nice.
Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks. Love and light, everyone.
Thank you.